Welcome to the deep dive. We take the latest research, break it down, and give you the key insights.
That's the plan.
So today we're digging into something pretty big, something really shifting daily life, the global plant protein-based food market.
It's a fascinating topic right now.
Absolutely. Our mission today is to unpack the explosive growth, look at the trends region by region, and really understand the significance of this whole movement. We've got the latest market research right here. Okay?
hmm
Let's unpack this global change that's reshaping how we eat and driving some incredible food innovation.
Right. And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is just the scale of this market's climb.
Hmm.
If you look back just to 2021, the whole global market was valued at, let's see, just under $13.7 billion.
Okay, 13.7 billion. Seems substantial already.
It does, but then fast forward just to 2025, and it had already ballooned to over 18.2 billion.
Wow.
And here's where it gets really compelling. The projections, they show it skyrocketing.
Yeah.
We're talking over $32.3 billion by 2033.
32 billion.
Yeah. And this isn't just, slow and steady. It's a compound annual growth rate, a TAER of 7.42%. That's over a decade of strong growth.
So it's definitely not just some fleeting trend.
Exactly. It signals a really fundamental worldwide shift. People moving towards more sustainable eating, more health-conscious choices. It's driven by consumers, but also by big leaps in, food technology.
That is an incredible leap. It really does sound like, well, almost a revolution happening on our plates.
You could say that.
So with that kind of global momentum, I'm really curious, where is this growth the strongest? Like, which parts of the world are really leading this plant-based charge?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the data, it paints a very clear picture, actually, North America. It's really established itself as a powerhouse for plant-based stuff.
I mean, North America.
Their market was already pretty big in 2021, nearing $5.3 billion.
5.3 billion.
Right. And it's projected to almost double from there. They're looking at nearly $11.8 billion by 2033. So it's expanding pretty robustly, about 6.97% each year on average.
Okay, so North America is definitely a major player.
Yeah.
How does that break down, within the region? Is it mainly the U.S. or?
Well, the United States naturally leads the charge there. It went from around, say, $4.15 billion in 2021 to a projected $9.2 billion by 2033. That's a big chunk.
Yeah, huge.
But it's not just the U.S. Canada is actually showing even faster growth percentage-wise, expanding by about 7.6% annually.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, reaching nearly $1.6 billion by 2033. And Mexico's definitely not lagging behind either. It's quickly joining that billion-dollar club, also growing strongly at over 7.1% per year.
So it's really widespread across North America then.
It really shows a broad regional embrace,
Okay, it's clear North America is all in. Let's hop across the Atlantic. What about Europe? With all its diverse food traditions, are they showing the same kind of enthusiasm, or is it a different picture there?
Europe's been a very strong participant too, with some interesting details. Their market clocked in at nearly $3 billion back in 2021.
3 billion, okay.
And it's projected to hit over $6.5 billion by 2033. So also growing strong, nearly 7% annually, very similar to North America overall.
And within Europe, who's leading?
Germany is definitely out front in Europe. They're expected to more than double their market value, hitting over $1.4 billion by 2033.
Wow, Germany.
Yeah. The UK is also a major contributor, set to reach nearly $910 million in that same time frame. And France follows pretty closely behind that.
Okay.
But what's particularly striking, I think, is that you see this strong, steady growth pretty much everywhere. Italy, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland.
Right across the board.
Exactly. Even, smaller markets like Luxembourg and Denmark, they're showing significant momentum too. It tells you this plant-based trend is really sweeping across, well, every corner of Europe, not just the big economies.
That widespread acceptance, yeah, even in those smaller markets, that's really telling. Okay, so from Europe, let's pivot. Let's go to Asia Pacific. The research calls it the fastest growing region globally. What's fueling that incredible speed?
That's right. Asia Pacific is, it's absolutely on fire, you could say. Their market was around $3.6 billion in 2021 and projected to reach a really impressive $9.4 billion by 2033. That gives it this eye-popping average annual growth rate of over 8.3%.
8.3%, that's huge.
It really is. China leads the region in total size, set to hit over $3.2 billion by 2033.
Okay, China's massive. Makes sense.
But what really stands out, and it's quite compelling, is India.
India. How so?
It boasts the highest growth rate in the entire region. It started from just over $450 million in 2021
Right.
and is expected to more than double that, reaching over $1.3 billion by 2033. That's expanding at a staggering 9.27% annually.
Wow, almost 9.3%. Why such rapid growth there, do you think?
Well, it probably points to, immense untapped potential, maybe increasing awareness, definitely changing consumer habits, and perhaps a lower starting point compared to, say, Western markets.
Right, more room to grow.
Exactly. And Japan also adds significant momentum, poised to reach over $1.4 billion by 2033.
Okay.
And we're seeing exciting stuff from other emerging leaders too, South Korea, Singapore, across Southeast Asia. They're all showing strong growth, reflecting this real innovative spirit around plant protein food throughout the whole region.
So it really hammers home that this isn't just a Western thing anymore, it's truly global.
Absolutely.
Okay, so what about the other big regions like South America, the Middle East, Africa? How do they fit into this global picture? Are they keeping pace?
They definitely play a crucial role, yeah. They're showing steady and significant contributions. Take South America, for example.
Okay.
It's growing robustly, moving from around $850 million in 2021 to a projected $2.07 billion by 2033.
Doubling and then some.
Pretty much. Brazil leads that charge in total value, heading towards $820 million or so. But Argentina is particularly noteworthy.
Oh, yeah.
It has one of the strongest regional growth rates, expanding at over 8.2% annually. It's on track for nearly $400 million. And then you have Chile, Colombia, Peru also showing healthy expansion, all with TGRs over 7%.
Very strong across the board there, too. What about the Middle East?
The Middle East market, it's increasing from around $616 million to nearly $1.5 billion by 2033.
Okay. Solid growth.
Yeah, KGR about 7.6%. Yeah. The key markets driving this are Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the UAE is actually growing particularly fast, over 8.3% annually. Qatar and Egypt are also showing strong momentum.
Interesting. And Africa, still emerging in this space.
Africa, yeah, it's starting from a lower base, definitely, but it is steadily gaining ground. The market revenue is projected to grow from just over $410 million in 2021
Right.
to nearly $990 million by 2033. That's a TGR of about 6.9%.
Almost 7%. And within Africa.
South Africa is really leading the movement on the continent. Its market's expected to more than double, hitting almost $470 million by 2033. Nigeria and the rest of Africa are also making substantial contributions.
So even there, it's picking up steam.
Exactly. Across all these regions, I mean, the evidence is clear. This isn't some niche product anymore. It's a globally recognized and growing dietary option.
Okay, we've covered, wow, a lot of ground. The numbers are seriously compelling pretty much everywhere we look. So stepping back, what does this all mean? For you listening and just for the world generally, what are the big takeaways here?
Well, I think what this all really means is that the plant protein-based food market isn't just, growing a little bit. It's absolutely booming.
Right.
Across nearly every single region and country we've looked at, it feels like a fundamental, almost systemic shift in what people are choosing to put on their plates.
And the drivers, you mentioned health, sustainability.
Yeah, those are the primary ones. Clearly rising health consciousness among consumers, that's huge. A growing global focus on sustainability. People are just more aware of the environmental footprint of their food. And crucially, relentless innovation. The food technology is making these plant-based options, well, frankly, better, more delicious, more versatile, easier to find than ever before. We're way beyond just basic tofu and soy milk now.
Definitely.
So what really stands out to me is just how the appetite for these options is, well, it's not niche anymore, not by a long shot. It's become a mainstream movement. And it's unequivocally backed by this really powerful data showing what seems like unstoppable momentum globally.
It's such a compelling picture, this rapid global growth, this fundamental shift towards plant-based foods.
Yeah.
It's fascinating just seeing it unfold across continents and touching everything from, like you said, our health to, well, global sustainability efforts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it leads to maybe a final thought, something for you, the listener, to consider. Given all this data and this clear trajectory we're seeing, how might this rapid mainstreaming of plant-based options, how might it not just transform our plates, but also influence, broader economic sectors, like traditional agriculture maybe, or even how we allocate global resources in the next decade?
Yeah.
Well, it raises a pretty important question, I think, for you to explore as you think about the future of food.
That's definitely something to chew on, so to speak. A really powerful question to end on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the future of food.
A pleasure.
We really encourage you to keep exploring these fascinating trends. We'll be back soon with another deep dive.
Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're really getting into the plant protein-based food market. And this isn't just, a small niche anymore. It feels like a movement that's actually reshaping the global food industry right as we watch.
Absolutely. And our mission really for this deep dive is to get under the hood of this transformation. We want to explore the forces, the powerful forces driving this growth, look at the barriers that are still there, and then, yeah, dig into the really exciting trends defining where it's all going. It's such a dynamic space. There's a lot more going on than you might think at first glance.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. Because what's fueling this whole plant-powered thing is, well, it's pretty complex, isn't it? The first big driver seems to be this huge shift in health and wellness awareness globally.
Hmm.
We're seeing people everywhere becoming much more aware of how diet impacts things like obesity, cardiovascular disease, diabetes.
Right, the chronic stuff.
Exactly. And plant-based proteins, well, they just naturally offer a kind of clean alternative. They're low in saturated fat, no cholesterol, so they're becoming a go-to.
And it's interesting how that's been amplified, by fitness experts, nutritionists, even social media. It's really pushed these foods from being like niche health food
Yeah.
to something people eat every day. A really wide range of people, too.
And what's fascinating is how that health driver connects so tightly with another big force, which is the shift in how people think about the environment and ethics.
Yeah, that's huge, especially for, millennials and Gen Z. They're looking at the environmental footprint of animal agriculture,
Yeah.
the land use, the deforestation,
The water.
the water usage, exactly, the greenhouse gas emissions. And that's a massive push factor for them towards plant-based diets.
So it's gone beyond just, is this healthy for me?
Oh, absolutely. For a lot of consumers now, reducing their carbon footprint, thinking about animal welfare, these aren't just nice ideas. They're becoming like essential lifestyle choices that really guide what they buy.
And we have to remember, none of this growth, this shift, would really be happening without the tech, right? The food innovation. I mean, think back 20 years ago. Bland tofu, maybe some rubbery patties.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't always great.
But today, it's a one to part. Brands are using some serious food science. They're improving taste, texture. The variety is incredible.
We're talking juicy plant-based burgers, creamy dairy alternatives that actually work in coffee.
Right, and high-protein snacks that people actually want to eat.
And because there's so much investment going into R&D, these products are finally starting to reach, well, not just vegans, they're appealing to flexitarians, mainstream consumers.
Bridging that gap.
Exactly. But, well, that definitely raises an important question. Despite all this progress, all the excitement, it's not all smooth sailing, is it? There are still hurdles.
Right, what are the big ones?
Well, the first one, and maybe the most obvious, is cost. Plain and simple. Plant-based alternatives, they often just cost more than the traditional meat and dairy.
Yeah, you see that price difference on the shelf. Why is that still the case, though? With more scale.
Well, that's the interesting part. It's not just about building bigger factories. There are specific costs in specialized processing, like getting the protein out of peas or soy efficiently. Sourcing ingredients can be complex. Branding costs money. So achieving, cost parity, getting the price down to match conventional products, that's still a major challenge, especially for reaching everyone everywhere.
Okay, cost is one. But beyond the price, what about the actual experience of eating it? Taste and texture. Is that still a sticking point for a lot of people?
It's a huge one. That's the second major challenge. Look, the innovation is amazing. Things are getting better all the time. But for many people, especially those who grew up eating meat and dairy, some alternatives still don't quite hit that mark, that authentic taste, the mouthfeel.
That sort of wow factor you need for people to buy it again.
Exactly. There can be some skepticism. If it doesn't really deliver that satisfying experience, they might try it once but not become regular buyers. It needs constant work on the sensory side, how it chews, how the flavor releases.
And are there other things, maybe on the nutrition side, that manufacturers have to navigate?
Yes, definitely. That brings us to the third challenge: allergen sensitivity and digestibility. Many common plant protein sources, soy, gluten from wheat, nuts, well, they're common allergens.
Right, that cuts out a chunk of potential consumers right there.
It does. And then there's the issue of what are sometimes called anti-nutrients, things like phytates in grains or oxalates. These compounds can sometimes interfere with our body's ability to absorb certain minerals. So manufacturers have this really tricky balancing act. They need to deliver on nutrition, make it taste great, keep it safe for those with allergies, and often they use methods like sprouting or fermentation to help reduce those anti-nutrient effects. It's complex formulation.
Okay, so challenges are definitely there. But here's where it gets really interesting for me. Despite those hurdles, the innovation just keeps rolling. And we're seeing some fascinating trends pop up. One huge one is this move towards clean label and organic.
No, absolutely. Consumers want transparency.
They want to know what's in their food, right?
Yeah.
Simple ingredients, GMO-free, no weird additives. So these clean label, organic, minimally processed plant protein options are really gaining ground.
Yeah, it's driven by trust, transparency, this whole idea of conscious consumption.
And running alongside that is this other massive shift in eating patterns.
Yeah.
Flexitarianism.
Well, yes, this is so important. It's not about everyone going vegan. It's about the much larger group of people who are just reducing animal products, not cutting them out entirely.
So the target market just exploded, basically.
Right. Totally. It means these foods aren't niche anymore. Companies aren't just aiming for vegans. They're thinking about the, maybe 80% of people just looking to mix things up, eat less meat sometimes. And that's why you see these products everywhere now. Mainstream restaurants, supermarkets, even schools.
Becoming a normal choice, not the alternative.
Exactly. A first choice for millions.
And underpinning all of this, of course, is technology. It just keeps changing the game. Things like precision fermentation, extrusion. They're letting companies make plant-based foods that mimic the real thing incredibly closely.
Yeah, down to the texture, the flavor, even matching nutrient profiles sometimes. Precision fermentation, for example, it's mind-blowing. Using microbes to create specific proteins like dairy proteins, but without the cow.
Yeah.
Or extrusion technology, using heat and pressure to create fibrous textures that really feel like meat when you chew them. And these aren't just about taste. They improve shelf life, cut down on waste.
Right.
They just make the products better.
And it's not just startups doing this, right? The big food companies are jumping in, too.
Everyone's getting involved. Startups, established giants. They're all rolling out these next-gen products, responding to what people want now.
Okay, so if we try and connect all these dots, look at the bigger picture.
Well, I think the plant protein-based food market, despite the challenges we talked about, it just has immense promise. It's being powered by this potent mix of changing values, really disruptive science, and just a fundamental desire for better choices, whether that's for health reasons, sustainability, or even for investors looking for growth.
So what does this all actually mean for you, listening to this? As we look ahead, maybe the next decade, think about how this speed up in food tech and changing tastes might really change things. Not just what's on our plates, but maybe the whole global food system, the economy. What kind of plant-based innovations, things we maybe can't even quite picture today, lab-grown coffee, protein made from air, what might become totally normal, and how is that going to impact our daily lives and, well, the planet in ways we're probably only just starting to figure out.